Hello, Word. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Alex, and I'm thrilled to have you join me for another dive into the fascinating world of the English language. Today, we're tackling a word that often pops up in news reports, medical discussions, and even everyday conversations: chronic. So, what does chronic really mean? Well, chronic as an adjective describes something that is long-lasting or constantly recurring. It's often used in the context of illnesses or conditions, but it can also apply to other situations that persist over time. Think of it as something that just doesn't go away easily, if at all. Now, let's explore some synonyms for chronic to enrich your vocabulary and help you express yourself more precisely. One close synonym is persistent. For example, instead of saying she suffers from chronic back pain, you could say she suffers from persistent back pain. Both convey the idea that the pain is ongoing and troublesome. Another useful synonym is inveterate. This word often describes habits or feelings that are deeply ingrained. You might say he is an inveterate smoker, which implies that he has a long-standing and difficult-to-break smoking habit, similar to saying he has a chronic smoking habit, though the latter isn't as common in this specific context. Habitual is another good synonym, especially when describing behaviors. For instance, his habitual tardiness was a problem, is similar to implying a chronic lateness issue. Then there's the word recurring, which perfectly captures the repetitive nature of some chronic conditions or problems. The company faced recurring financial difficulties, suggests a situation of chronic financial instability. And lastly, consider long-standing. This synonym is quite literal and clearly indicates the extended duration of something. The two countries had a long-standing dispute, conveying the same idea as a chronic dispute. Now that we've explored some synonyms, let's flip the coin and look at some antonyms of chronic. Understanding the opposite of a word can often clarify its meaning even further. A primary antonym for chronic is acute. While chronic implies a long duration, acute describes something that is sudden and short-lived. For example, she had an acute attack of appendicitis, indicating a sudden and severe onset, the opposite of a chronic condition. Another antonym is temporary, which, again, emphasizes the short duration of something. The medication provided temporary relief from the pain, implying that the relief was not permanent, in contrast to managing a chronic pain condition. Fleeting is another antonym that highlights the briefness of something. He caught a fleeting glimpse of her, suggests a very brief sighting, unlike a chronic problem that lingers. Also, consider transient, meaning something that is not permanent. The symptoms were transient and disappeared quickly, indicating a short-lived experience, unlike chronic symptoms. Finally, there's the word occasional, which suggests something that happens infrequently. He experienced occasional headaches, unlike someone suffering from chronic headaches. Now, let's think about how you might use chronic in everyday life. You might say, my grandfather has chronic arthritis, to explain why he sometimes struggles with mobility. Or if you're always late, you could jokingly say, I have a chronic case of tardiness. In a more serious context, you might hear a doctor say, we need to develop a long-term management plan for your chronic illness. Here are a few more example sentences and phrases to help solidify your understanding. The city is facing a chronic shortage of affordable housing. She's been dealing with chronic fatigue for years. The company's chronic underperformance led to significant changes in management. He's a chronic complainer. Nothing ever seems to satisfy him. The doctor prescribed medication to manage her chronic condition. Ignoring the problem won't make it go away. It will likely become chronic. To summarize, chronic means long-lasting or constantly recurring, often used in the context of illnesses or conditions. Synonyms include persistent, inveterate, habitual, recurring, and long-standing, while antonyms include acute, temporary, fleeting, transient, and occasional. It's a C1 level adjective you'll hear often in both formal and informal settings. Thank you so much for joining me on Hello Word. I hope you found this exploration of the word chronic helpful and informative. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Your support helps others discover the show and learn about the English language. And now, for your homework, I encourage you to create your own sentence using the word chronic and share it as a comment under this video. I can't wait to see what you come up with.